This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore. The other day, the thankfully former Congresswoman and current nutter-butter right-wing Christian extremist Michele Bachmann claimed that she's never seen a more biblical or godly president than Donald Trump. During her appearance on a weirdo end times prophecy Christian radio show called Understanding the Times with Jan Markell, Michele Bachmann, she said this.
And I will say to your listeners, in my lifetime, I have never seen a more biblical president than I have seen in Donald Trump. He has so impressed me with what he's done. And we haven't even talked about Israel, what he has done to advance Israel. So he is highly biblical. And I would say to your listeners, we will in all likelihood never see a more godly biblical president again in our lifetimes. So we need to be not only praying for him, we need to support him, in my opinion, in every possible way that we can.
Seriously? Michele Bachmann has never seen a more biblical president than Donald Trump. The same Donald Trump who called 2 Corinthians 2 Corinthians, and when asked his favorite scripture, couldn't come up with a single one? Well, we would be safe to assume that if he has a favorite scripture, it isn't Matthew 22:21, render therefore unto Caesar the things which are Caesar's, and unto God the things that are God's. And I say that's not likely his favorite scripture because, as I've already covered in a previous video, he was an accessory to defrauding the United States government and by extension the American people out of almost $500 million. The very same Christian Donald Trump who had to have his charitable foundation dissolved due to rampant fraud and abuse. The same charity he used to buy himself signed Tim Tebow gear and a giant oil painting of himself. In fact, other illegal uses of his charity were a $25,000 payment in 2013 to a political organization working to re-elect Florida Republican Attorney General Pam Bondi, who after getting the donation, decided not to pursue litigation against Trump University, and a $100,000 payment in 2007 to cover a settlement in a lawsuit against Mar-a-Lago. Donald Trump has so impressed Michele Bachmann in what he has done as a Christian president that apparently she's able to overlook the fact that he has had 5 kids with 3 different women and that he's committed adultery in each and every one of those marriages. He's so godly that she's able to forget about the unprotected sex with porn stars and Playboy playmates, after which he paid them for their silence. He's a man so much after God's own heart that Michele Bachmann has no need to remember that his first wife, in sworn court depositions, claimed that Donald Trump had violently raped her in a fit of rage after he had a botched scalp surgery. Yeah, super Jesus-y. Michele Bachmann has such a stranglehold on what is highly biblical and godly that she's A-OK with vile racism and ripping innocent babies away from their desperate refugee parents and throwing them into cages. She's gleeful about her just like Jesus president who calls entire countries filled with God's children shitholes. She considers godly a man who has told thousands upon thousands upon thousands of verifiable lies since taking office only a couple of years ago. For so many millions of Americans, what has happened to Christianity in this country? The red letters denoting the words of Christ himself don't seem to matter to the very people who claim to be striving to be Christ-like. The question of what would Jesus do isn't a concern for them anymore. All they care about is political and cultural control. They are an overwhelmingly white group of Americans driven by fear and motivated by one culture war battle after the next. They've traded away grace and kindness and acceptance and love of one's neighbor and replaced them with judgment, derision, hatred, prejudice, bigotry, and idol worship. For their new idol is a haughty, prideful, envious, mean-spirited monster who stands for absolutely nothing, even accidentally, that is representative of Jesus or his philosophies. And really, they are perfect for each other. Because what better leader for a bigoted white nationalist group of Christians than a full-blown white nationalist bigot like Donald Trump?